Welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, a show dedicated to giving automotive professionals the tools and education needed to succeed. The topics we cover are all geared towards running a better business, leading a better life, and ultimately changing the industry for, well, the better. What are we waiting for? Let's get into it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge. We're on episode 87 today, and we're going to be talking about families in business. Now, we have with us, first off, thank you guys for watching and listening. And if you like anything that you hear on the podcast, please give us a like and share so that other people might benefit from the content we're sharing out here. Very excited to introduce, we've got Mike and Jerry Pasman from Alberta Motorworks. And you guys have two different shops up in Canada.
That's right.
And they're different names. So it's Alberta European and Alberta Asian, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And then we've got Jim and Carly Paiva from Elite Auto Repair. And you guys are in
Rhode Island.
Where are you guys from again? Rhode Island, right.
Rhode Island.
I never remember. I know it's just east that way. It's very far that way. If any of you guys have any comments or questions during this podcast, please get them down in the comments. We're going to be watching that. And let's just jump into the questions. So we're going to go through and tell us a little bit about how long you guys have worked together and the positions that you're currently holding. Because I know things have changed since the last time. Mike and Jared, we had you on and had this kind of talk about working fathers and sons. This is more family, but let's start with Mike.
Well, I guess I've been working with side by side with my dad in a sort of management role for about 7 or 8 years now, but I've been working with him for, 16, 17 years, something like that. I started in high school. So I guess it's probably been 18 years because I've been out of high school for about 16 now. And I started before I was out of high school. So it's been fun. Now that I get to separate myself and he gets to go to his office and I get to go to mine, and then he comes over here and just like wanders into the office and I go, "What do you want?" He goes, "I just come over to say hi." Like, it's much better that way. It's much more enjoyable.
My dad does the same thing. We've got these metal stairs right here. My office is right above his, and like I'm knee deep in a lot of work. I've got like deadlines and stuff, and I just hear him walking up the steps. And I'm like, oh, God.
Right.
At least he doesn't just grab a broomstick and
what
just
do you need now?
hit the roof, eh? Yeah, Kent, come down here. I need to talk to you.
We do that too. Depends on the day.
I can tell who's walking up the stairs just by their tone coming up, by their footprints. I know who it is.
I try to actually sometimes take my shoes off and get up there really quietly so he doesn't know I'm coming. So.
I don't think you do anything quietly.
You don't do anything quietly.
I can't. I just see this. I see this blinding white just shape over here coming up. So Mike, I just wanted to say it's interesting. You said I've been working side by side for this long and for him for this long. So what do you mean by side? Just because you've gotten into this, you're managing your own shop now. Is that what you mean by that?
Well, I started out as a technician, and so then I was working for him because I was pulling wrenches and fixing the cars that paid the bills. And now I'm in I started out as service advisor at the European shop, and then we opened up Alberta Asian Motorworks, which will be 3 years in March. I kind of steered the ship on this at this shop. I get to spend the money how I want to, which sometimes is a little bit of a detriment to the bank account for the shop. But for the most part, I think it's working. It's been opening a new shop and then having it open for 6 months and then being thrust into a pandemic for God knows way too long. It's definitely been a struggle, but I think I've been holding my own.
Yeah. So Jerry, how do you feel about that?
Oh, it's been great. We definitely, as he was growing up in the trade, just like when I was with my dad working on the farm, that we were constantly arguing with each other. And then when Mike moved into the service advisor role, took some training, and then he really blossomed as far as a person as well. That really helped him out. He's done a great job. even some of the management stuff that I don't particularly care for to do, like some of the people stuff, firing and hiring people, or he seems to have a bit more of a grab on that than I do. I'm a bit of more of a pussy, I suppose. So it's hard. Yeah. But otherwise, no, as far as working together, it's been really good.
So, Carly, what about you? How long have you been working with Jim?
So same as Mike, I kind of started right out of high school. Well, actually after high school I'd come by. And in college, same thing, it was kind of part-time, but I was probably full-time 2017. But I kind of more did the back end with my mom, doing the bookkeeping, reconciling, accounts receivable, payable. And then 2018, I became like a full-time service advisor, pretty much right up front. And I haven't really worked side by side, really. It was just, he's my boss. Yeah.
Jim, what's been your perspective over the years as she's been working with you?
Well, I mean, Carly has always been here. I mean, whether she was 2 years old running around, playing with toys, or graduated high school and college and ended up here as a service advisor now. It's been amazing to watch her develop as a child, and then as a individual, and now a great service advisor. So it's been rewarding to watch this progress take place. And as I always say, you hear her talk to clients now, or even talk cars now. It's really all the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that it took to get there. There's finally a reward at the end. Just sitting back and watching her do her job. She does a great job at it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You guys have been in the shop, Mike and Carly, you guys have been in the shop for the long haul. I didn't actually know anything about my dad or what he did until much later, when I actually started working for him. So I hadn't been involved in the business aspect of it at all.
Because he tried really hard to just keep you out of it.
Yeah, he was like, it's like, not you, not this one.
Well, when you have special children, sometimes you try to really protect them.
Wow. Coming right out the gate swinging, huh?
I expect nothing less from him, really.
Yeah. So we have some tenure here. So I've been working with my dad for 10 years now. Well, going on 10 years, right? Mine wasn't out of high school. I was out of college. I realized I wasn't long for academia. Got in a situation, but I ended up. He was like, "Hey, we've got this company. I need a secretary," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Doing a tech support job at the time. So I didn't realize it would end up being something so impactful in my life. And I don't know if this is just my own perspective coming from like a child, but what has it been for you, Dad, for that kind of jump? Because I don't think when you hired me originally, you thought it would be this...
impactful might be putting it mildly. I think as a parent, you have your children and you want things for them. You want them to have a great life, and you want them to be healthy, and you want them to be happy, and all of that stuff. And there's always, I think, in the back of my mind, at least, there was always the idea of, if I could work with my kids, that would be cool. And if there was something there that my children, that was something there for them, a legacy, that I could create something that would be really good for them. So for me, that was, that's always kind of been in the back of my mind. I gotta say, anything that brings you pleasure also brings you pain. I would tell you that I really enjoy working with my son and having him as part of my business and part of my company. But there's also frustration there. There are times where you become very frustrated because you can't see eye to eye, and I think there's a natural I can remember working for my dad when I was in my 20s and thinking, why doesn't he do this? And oh my God, why doesn't he do that? And, becoming very frustrated on that side. And I'll bet my dad went home and banged his head against the wall and said, why the hell do I have my kid working for me? It's crazy. But it's worked really well here at the Institute.
So far.
Yeah. And I well, we had a rough bout a couple months ago. Frankly, we had we kind of got into it with each other, and I think sometimes that's actually in the long run cathartic, because you go, okay, well, we can't do that again.
It can be. I mean, like you're kind of skirting the line, and this is why this is such an interesting topic, because most shop owners, a lot of times they work with family. I know, Jim, you've got a lot of family working in your shop. It can be really difficult to navigate the dynamic there, especially when you're trying to keep things professional, but also your personal life bleeds in. People talk about keeping things separated. You have your home life and you have your work life, but I don't think that there's any, you can't set clear boundaries there. It's really difficult because you still have those dynamics bleeding through.
I set those boundaries every time we get together. I honestly, like, if we are doing a family dinner, I say, okay, we are not talking about work. Like, I don't care. No matter what the situation, no matter what the day, no matter what's been happening, when we all get together after work, I don't want to talk about the shop. I have to deal with that stuff far too much when the shop's closed. And when we're enjoying family time, especially if my brother's there and his partner and the kids, like, we don't need to get into that stuff when we're sitting around having a family dinner. That's not the time or the place. And if we can't have that discussion when we're at work, then either we don't talk about it or it just doesn't get discussed after work. Like, we need to set time away during the day to have those conversations, good, bad, or otherwise. But when we get together after hours, I hate talking about work. It's my least favorite topic outside of when I'm at work.
My concern is, mainly when that kind of conversation or that stuff goes the other way, where you're bringing personal life into the workplace. For me, that's somewhat more damaging, especially because it puts your business online, and your business is your livelihood. If that kind of stuff bleeds in and your employees are seeing it, your customers are seeing it, you guys are having spats and stuff, that can be really harmful.
Well, and I think we had those issues when I was working for my dad. I can recall a couple of times where I would literally scream at him in the shop. And like, that's just not, now that I reflect on it, like, not appropriate, And so I can't even recall the last time that Dad and I got into an argument at work in front of people.
I drink a lot more now.
What's that?
I drink a lot more now.
You do. Yeah, that's fair.
Jerry, you always drank a lot. Wait a minute. You mean it's more?
Funny.
Now at least we have an office where I can close the door and then him and I can have a conversation. But honestly, we don't argue. We don't fight. It's very, I don't know. But maybe I'm just blowing smoke up his ass. I don't know.
But I think there's at least for me, there are frustrations that, I can't quite get him to see things the way I want him to see things sometimes. And it's very frustrating. And I don't know, I kind of feel like as the parent, or maybe even as the boss, a little of both sometimes, it's like, okay, all right, that's just Kent. He's just hard-headed. And some of that is good and some of that's not so good. So there's frustration.
It's difficult. It's not easy. You're running a business with, more than one, or even like we have 5 family members in this business. It's a handful, because you not only have a livelihood investment, but also you're a parent, and it's hard sometimes to look at it differently. Sometimes when you got to be the boss, you're being the parent. Sometimes when you're being the parent, you got to be the boss. Or same thing with the child. Same thing, with the family member. Sometimes sometimes it's a little too comfortable and you end up crossing lines, especially when you have disagreements. It's not easy.
So let me ask a question. I'm going to ask a question of everyone here, actually, and we'll start with Jim, and then we'll go down to Jerry. And what do you think the pitfalls are for a parent bringing their child into their company? What were the big? This was the most difficult thing for us. Can you think about that, Jim? Can you put something around that?
Well, I think when you're a parent and, parent-child situation, you've brought this young child up since they were young. And of course, you want the best for them. You want everything. You want to do the right thing. You want them to be successful. You want to see them develop and grow. And sometimes what you see, they don't see. Or what they see, you don't see. I mean, it goes both ways. And, you mentioned, sometimes Kent's hard-headed. Well, I bet sometimes you're hard-headed, just like Carly, just like myself. It's not an easy, it's a difficult balance to be a parent, to be a boss, and to work together. I don't know. I guess sometimes the lines, you go over the lines.
I would say it's really hard to be a parent, period.
Correct.
And it's very difficult to be a boss, period. I mean, to me, it's easier with people that aren't part of my family because there's not the history there.
Right. Exactly.
There's not the emotion behind it.
You kind of have some bias when you go into it there.
It's probably easier to separate yourself in that relationship, and a little harder to separate yourself in the other relationship. Jerry, what do you think the biggest challenges have been for you?
Well, first of all, when he decided to leave the Bay and become a service advisor, obviously we had the normal thing of we got to look for another body in the back, and that was tough. And how was he going to do with this position was also an unknown. Even though he's always had the gift of the gab and the social aspect to his character. So I knew that the customer service side of things was going to be really good, and then he just developed from there. So I'm sitting here thinking as you guys are chatting, and I can't think of any really serious negative things that happened that I thought about while we were going through this metamorphosis.
Let me throw something out there, because this has been one of my frustrations is, I want him to own the company at some point, right? I mean, I want to be able to just
So like 3 years,
sit home and 3 months.
tomorrow.
I want to sit back at some point and go, wow, I did a great job. He's running the company. The company's financially successful. I get a retirement, blah, 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 blah. But it seems to me that, there are these lessons that have to be learned, and they think they've learned them, but I don't know that they've learned them, right? And they want it so fast. That's kind of the struggle for me sometimes. I was
listening to the ASOC podcast the other day, and they had Dutch Silverstein and all that, and they were talking about the generational gap. And something I thought was really interesting that they brought up is the younger guys were saying, hey, maybe the boomers were right in some areas. Maybe we weren't supposed to get participation trophies. Maybe we weren't supposed to get this kind of thing. And I'm seeing it now with my kid. He's 8, and being a dad, it's now giving me a little new perspective there. But it's like, to what you said, I do to some degree, maybe not to the full extent that I should, but I notice that there is supposed to be struggle. There is things that I'm supposed to learn that I haven't learned yet. That is now kind of humbling me and going, all right, well, I do need to take a step back and say, all right, maybe I haven't learned this yet. Open my eyes, listen a little more.
So do you Jim and obviously I relate more to Jim and Jerry, but do you guys sometimes feel like they treat you like you're 100-year-old man, like you're so frail or something? You know, sometimes I feel like he's like, oh well, you know, he's doddering a little now, and so I need to step in here and take care of this for him. And I'm like, no, I'm not that far gone yet, you know. So I don't know. Do you guys ever feel that way? Like,
No doubt.
You know, in our generation, we always thought the road to success was by working long hours and working hard. Today, the younger generation, including our children, they rather not take that road. They rather work, you know, I don't want to fall short of saying smarter, but that's the only word I can think of. They rather work smarter and not work as hard.
I would say more expediently. They want the results quicker because our lifestyle is much faster than I believe you guys grew up with. And again, I'm making an overgeneralization. I don't really know how it was for you guys, but
we
were bombarded nonstop.
We had 3 TV channels. Now wait a minute, you know, that's modern. You know,
exactly. It's not easy. It's not easy. You know, working together all the time. It's, you know,
I think there's some natural things that happen at certain ages. And I think when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I was go. And my dad was in his, you know, 50s, 60s, and he was, wait a minute, right? You know, because he was slowing down in his career and I was trying to move forward in my career. And I think there's some natural tension with that, right? I'm absolutely sure. I know that when I was Kent's age and I was working with my dad wasn't moving fast enough. And I kind of think, oh my gosh, I'm moving 10 times faster than my dad. But sometimes it's not fast enough for the younger generation. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a natural thing just based on age. It has nothing to do with generation or anything. It's just that, you know, I don't have as much energy as I used to have. What do you think, Mike?
Sorry, multitasking. Can you just refresh my memory on the question?
I'm.
Do
No,
we
can't.
treat them like they're old, withered men?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
There's so many things about the world now that are so much more different, and there are lots of things. I mean that they don't want to get on board for. Social media, the bringing in different programs and softwares and spending money here to try to generate income there. You know, and like,
well, that's not the way we did it.
Yes. And I honestly, that's my least favorite line. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, but on the other side of that,
there is some experience that
telling
is learned from that side.
Telling us that there's no value to what we know because, well, Dad, you just don't understand this. You know, that's BS too. I think on both ends, there's some BS here. Just because it's new doesn't make it, you know, last night, Kent and I were having a conversation. He said, well, you know, that's the way they've done it. And I'm like, well, I don't care how they've done it. I want to do it the right way. I want to do it the best way. Right. So I don't know.
That's a bit of a reverse.
It is, frankly, on that one. But I think sometimes, you know, listen to the old guy. You know, the old guy's been through it. He's got some experience here. Not everything, not all the time, but you know, maybe a little more often.
Let us be good where we're good.
Yeah.
On the opposite end, welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge therapy session.
This is literally what happened last time, though.
I know,
no, but
that's okay.
How many shop owners are going through this because they've got their kids, or how many kids are going through this because they're working with their dads or their moms and they're in the company, and there is this idea that, oh my God, I wish he'd just slow down just a little bit and listen a little more, you know. And then I'm sure he's like, God, would he get out of my way and let me go?
Well, there's some, and I'll play for the young side here. I feel personally, and sometimes I see it too, parents, what they want to make things a little easier for their kids. They want to make sure that they don't fail too hard, or maybe they go the exact opposite and the opposite of nepotism and go hard and like, you have to prove yourself because you're my child. Carly, what kind of pressures have you felt kind of on that end of maybe expectations or the way that you've been treated as the child when you're trying to be treated like the employee? Oh, okay, maybe not. What about you, Mike?
Well, I think
Carly's
there's a different vibe around the shop with me being over here and having some more control. It's I feel like I've been treated a lot more of an equal the last couple of years. I mean, at the end of the day, there's lots of decisions that still happen where I say, okay, I got to go have a conversation with Jerry about this first. But it's, I don't know. The family dynamic at our shop, in my opinion anyways, is, I don't know. It's not there very often. We don't have family arguments. We don't have family dynamics play into this because we're both here for the same purpose. We're both here for the same end goal. I mean, my end goal is to get him out of the shop, but I think he's probably going to build himself a coffin downstairs in the basement and just crawl into it one day. So I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we're both here to do the same thing. We're both here to give Red Deer the best service, both shops trying to be the best we can. And so the father-son family dynamic doesn't play into it very often in my mind.
So like even between myself and my dad, primarily, we don't necessarily talk family or anything like that. But that dynamic still comes in, even though we're just working on the business and the goal is the business. With me, I feel like a lot of the tension the other way around is that, I want to try this new thing. I know you haven't done it. I haven't done it either, but I really think that it might happen. Let me fail if I fail. I'm willing to take the consequences of this effort I want to put on. And I think over the years, I've had to fight for that position of trust to go like, you're probably right. Let's do that and see what happens.
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think it plays the other way more often than it plays. If you weren't my son, I probably would have fired you 10 times. Okay. And
that's really comforting, Dad. Thank you.
No, it's not. Again, it's not. It's just, this is my son. I want him to be successful. Sometimes he fights me harder than an employee would fight me. And I let that happen because he's not an employee. He's my son, right? There's some of that. There's also the idea of, I think we're more about company than we are about family, frankly. The success of the Institute, are we doing the right thing? What's the right thing? How do we do it? But also, having struggled for, 40 years here to pay the bills, to build something, there's that risk too of the cost of some of these things to the company. And I'll talk about Mike just a little bit. Mike, 6-7 years ago, you weren't as mature as you are now. You're much more mature today than you were 6-7 years ago. And I can see that Jerry has, that as you've matured, Jerry has given you more respect, and more, I don't know if it's rope or not rope, but more freedom to do things within the business, the more that you prove yourself. And I think that would be true of anybody that worked for you, not just, your son or your daughter. The more you do well, the more freedom we give you. The more mature you are, the more freedom we give you.
Responsibility.
Any boss should literally, whether they're working with their kids or not, that's the way it ought to be. And I think one of the problems, at least from our end, is in my head, I see Kent taking over the company, yet I haven't defined what that is. Kent would like to have that more defined so that he understands how that looks like and has more comfort about that.
We're literally going through that right now. Like honestly, that I had a conversation with mom and dad, I don't know, 2 weeks ago about things, and they went out and had a conversation with our accountant, just because, and she's also a good family friend, to kind of, get at some ideas of where they need to go. And she basically straight up said, you guys need to figure out what your plan is so that you can have that conversation with Michael. And that's where we're at still. I mean, that was only a week ago or a week and a half ago that they had this conversation. But I think I'm going to speak for Kent and myself, and maybe Kent, you can add to this. That's the frustration that we see. And maybe Carly, I don't know where you're at with, and whether you want to be in this, own the shop one day, I don't know. But like, we show up every day, we work hard, we give 120% every day.
Probably more than any other employees would.
Right. But like, for what, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, what are we working for?
Some intangible promise. And
right.
You trust your parents because they want what's, but if there's nothing written down, there's almost, you're living in this weird, gray area, this weird ambiguous area. It's like, I'm working my ass off, but I don't know. I don't really know how it's going to pay off.
It's almost like we're stuck in this purgatory of working for our parents, because that's just like where we ended up, because that's where life brought us. But like, I don't want to be in purgatory forever, right? We want to.
You're all special. You're all special children. That's what you are. Okay. If not, Kent, I think the short bus is pulling up to the office right now.
Can you believe though? I mean, put yourself in the other side, in the other shoes. I want to do this forever, frankly. There's a part of me that thinks I can, right? And then there's a part of me that knows that there'll come a place in time where I can't, physically or mentally.
God, I hope I don't have to work until I die.
Yeah. Well, I don't. A lot of what I do, I don't count as work.
See, and I think that's the same thing with Dad. I mean, he eats, sleeps, and breathes this place, and it just blows my mind that he wants to keep doing this.
That's kind of the thing. It's like, that's the thing. We watch these guys like do this way too much. And they love it though. It's a passion, and that's totally
just fine, wait till you put 40 years in and see if you're not in a place where.
But that might happen down the road. But for now, I'm thinking to myself, man, I really don't want to be in a position where I feel like I'm working that much. I'm working a lot now. I'm working really hard, and I'm totally cool doing that for a short period of time. But I don't want this to be my whole life. Like, I don't know if you want to work this hard your entire life.
My company is not my whole life, but it's like, if you're going to get married, who do you marry? You don't marry somebody you don't know. You marry somebody that you met, somebody that you have some interaction with, and you fall in love. You're attracted, whatever that is. I've met tons of people through my career that I respect, that I like, that I have fun with, that I enjoy. These are my friends. This is like my community. And saying, hey, you're told to play in your community. I don't know. I mean, and yet part of me knows I have to plan for the future.
Not necessarily to play in your community, but to do it differently.
So with all this said, I met with the lawyer yesterday. Kent will have interest in the business. You're fired. There's a plan. There's a plan moving forward. There's a 5-year, 7-year plan where Kent will end up owning the whole damn company. Hopefully, that's that was my plan from the beginning.
Well, so this is a Mike, you're going through right now. We're going through right now. Interesting topic. I'm going to take just a short break for a commercial. Apologies, everybody. I want to thank you guys for watching. First off, if you're enjoying the conversation, if you have questions or comments about this specifically, let us know down in the comments below if you want us to cover this topic again. And like and share if you think other people should benefit from this as well. We have a class coming up called Achieving Your Best Potential Business. It's a workshop on February 35th through the 26th. That's not right. That can't be right.
February 35th. I'm not sure there's a
35th.
February
I think
35th.
25th. There's a
25th.
typo here. That's my bad. February 25th through the 26th. And at this point, because we're pre-recording this, the iScan Technical Training Conference that we are having on May 13th and 15th, which is going to be our first joint venture to have technical training with our business management training. It's going to be a big event here at the Institute headquarters. So click the link down in the description below to see if you want to save your seat for the ITTC, or the iScan Technical Training Conference. Back to the questions. I want to get into more of the nitty gritty here. So how are you? And this is to the dinosaurs in the conversation. How are you guys tackling the transition? Like, what are your plans? What are you trying to do and implement? What are your thoughts on the changes you're trying to make? So, Dad, you met with a lawyer. Jerry, you met with your accountant. What does that look like?
It's a hell of a struggle because, first of all, you get to it when you're young. You're the end is not in sight, and so you're invincible in a way, right? As you get older, you watch your friends die and fall apart, etc. People you've known for 20, 30 years, and you start to realize, okay, maybe there is an end here at some point. It's something that the young people in the room, not the dinosaurs, they don't understand this, and you will not until you get to that place. Okay. One of the things that's happened in my company over the last 2 years is I have stepped out of a lot of the roles that I have been playing, and I've given those roles to Kent, in part to see if he can do it, and in part because I don't want to do it anymore. I want to sit back a little bit on the couch and enjoy this a little more without doing a lot of the day-to-day, minute-by-minute, got to be in it stuff. And I think no matter who you are, if there is an endpoint in your business, you need to do that with somebody at some point in time. So that's a difficult transition. On the other side, defining how you're going to get out, what that's going to look like. How am I going to help Kent be the most successful running the company? How do I make that transition good for Kent and good for the company and good for me? They're all things that we're considering. I think I have the plan. I think I know at this point what I want. So now let's get the lawyer in. Let's get the partnership agreements together. Let's get the trust in play, and define, if I die, what happens, and if I live, what happens. And that's where I'm at.
I got a question just on that. You meeting with the lawyer and stuff. Did you guys have a conversation together beforehand about what Kent wants moving forward? Like, does Kent want to own the company? Is that what he wants from his life?
I think Kent and I have had.
Good question.
I think Kent and I have had that conversation in multiple ways, but we've never literally sat down and said, that's the conversation.
Yeah, Dad, what does Kent want?
Kent wants to own the company. Kent wants me out yesterday, and Kent wants ultimate and total control. He wants to make more money. He needs more money. He's got to have more money. Obviously, those things are all very clear to me from our interaction in the company.
No, it's not. It's not that I want you out. It's that, and you might take it that way, but I'd like to see my dad have a retirement. I'd like to see my dad not work so damn hard all the time. So
I think the issue with that, though, Kent, is
it's fun.
And that's the thing. Like, I look at Dad, and I'll circle back to Mom for a second. Like, Mom is let's say partially retired, semi-retired, whatever you want to call it. But like, Mom has hobbies. I look at my dad, and I don't know what this guy does with his spare time except for races his autocross car in the summertime. But in the wintertime, he's got nothing. He doesn't have any hobbies. So
Cars,
if they retire, what do? They don't have anything to do, right?
Alcohol and his friends. He's got 3 good hobbies I know of. I know the man well.
That's the best ones ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, but I think that's also what's, and I'm I'm just talking right now, but I think that's what potentially scares them about, retirement, if we're going to use that as a word, is they're going to wake up in the morning and they're going to go, what do I do now?
That's my fear. That's my fear, is that he's going to push it off. And not that he's intentionally pushing it off or just circumstance, whatever, but it'll get to a point where his body starts failing him or something. And he's perfect health right now. Everybody knows. Yeah. But just get to that point and be like, oh, shit, I didn't plan anything.
Yeah.
I
I've been
don't
planning
know what
my
to
whole
do.
life. What do you think I built this business for? I mean, it doesn't go the way you want. It never goes completely the way you want.
One thing that, hearing all you guys talk and I'm looking at a triangle here, Cecil, myself, and Jerry. I mean, goes back to, we always worked hard in long hours, and this is what we do. I mean, I hate to say it, but you guys have different perspectives because you have a little more outlook. I mean, Jerry, you just mentioned, Mike, that Jerry, you're not sure what he does on his spare time. And I'm asking myself the same question. What do I do on my spare time? If it's not hunting season, I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing on my spare time. I go home and go to bed, go to sleep, wake up, come back to work. I mean, that's a scary thought of what I would do if I had all day, 7 days a week.
I don't know. I would have liked to see my dad more when I was younger.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but that time is past.
Yeah.
And now you have to spend more time with your kids if you think I didn't spend enough time with mine. I traveled. I was a consultant. I was running companies in other cities, well away from where the home was.
I'm not saying it wasn't worth it. Especially right now, where the position that I'm in, I know that there has to be some sacrifice in order to provide for my family. But at this point, I want you to have something to look forward to where you have time with your grandkids,
Yeah, but I don't like any of my no, I'm joking. I enjoy my grandkids. It's really cool. When you have grandkids are different than kids, and it's really awesome. But just because you don't see me, I don't know, working on wood and building furniture or something, doesn't mean I don't have hobbies. I love to read. I'll sit and read books for 2 weeks without even thinking about, did I eat or did I drink or did I sleep? There's all kinds of things that I love to do.
I think I'm the same way. I mean, he says about my hobbies and whatnot, but I'm super passionate about cars, as you all know. I mean, if we go on vacation, I go to a car museum. If there isn't a car museum, I go look for cars, and when I'm at home, I watch TV about cars and things like that, and I have a garage at home that I have a couple of nice project cars in that are going to be, it's going to be awesome when the time is there. And I have the facility to do it, grandkids are also absolutely fantastic. We get to go to a couple of hockey games this coming weekend, watch a little turkey go score a few goals and stuff like that, and unfortunately, with the pandemic right now, I can't go watch the daughter or the granddaughter swimming, things like that. But that'll come around. And I love being around here. The people that our customers are awesome. Our staff is great. The challenges are always endless, and I'm so very happy that Michael's taken on the technological aspect of it. Even though I still take care of the scan tools and things like that, but the rest of it is it's pretty damn amazing.
I think there's one thing to note here is that, we might, both of us on both sides have some notion as to how the other should live and work. And it's all coming from a place of caring and love, and not necessarily like, I don't want my dad out of this business because I want to take over. I want him out because I feel that he deserves a break and all that. And he might disagree, and that's fine. We're going to have that cognitive dissonance, but at least it's coming from a place of love.
Well, no matter what, it doesn't work. I don't know of anybody that would tell me my life has gone completely as I planned it. There are some things that have been disappointments, and there are many more things that have been pleasurable and exciting. I have a son who works with me who's well respected in the industry that I have spent so much time and that is helping other business owners. For me, that's like a huge win for my life, right? And we have a plan. Maybe we're not completely eye to eye on it, but since I am the dad and since I am the boss and since I own the damn company, here's how we're going to move ahead, and hopefully he gets what he wants. And I think I take that into consideration. But I think one of the keys is that communication that maybe Mike has pointed out. Maybe we just haven't had clear enough communication. I kind of assume that Kent wants X, Y, and Z, and Kent assumes that I want X, Y, and Z, and maybe they're not the same X, Y, and Z.
This is the kind of where I wanted to take the end of this podcast is more so how are we navigating these relationships productively, or ways we can do it productively. For anybody who's out there who has family in their business, what is everyone doing right now in this panel that is positive in managing the relationship?
I would go back to, for your business, some of the basic business principles. What are the goals, targets for the business? And, how do I get that and accomplish that within my business using the resources that I have, the staff that I have? The business, for me to get what I want out of my life in a financial situation, my business has to be successful. My business fails, I don't have the kind of money or whatever to live the kind of life I want moving forward, whatever that looks like. And then I would also say, if you're working with family, that open communication is a huge key, and also not letting things get out of hand. We take things personally, I think, sometimes, and they become bigger than they should be. And then it gets out of hand between the two of us, instead of kind of stopping before it gets there and going, wait a minute, this is not what we want together. Together, what do we want and how do we go get that?
And I think that conversation needs to be had now or sooner rather than later for potentially all of us sitting here, because we don't want to.
Or anybody listening out there.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to be 5 years from now and then all of a sudden have this conversation. And then I look at my dad and I go, like, are you insane? How is that going to work for me? Or how, and then all of a sudden now we're
in the midst of an emergency where it's
right.
Like,
now we're
urgent.
separating or whatever based on that. And all of a sudden now I'm 40 and I'm behind, or way behind from where I think I should be, based on, what dad's potential thoughts on the outcome of the business should be. Whereas
versus what yours are.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So no matter what the outcome may be at the end, I think having just a brief conversation about what their potential may be in 5, 6, 10, 15 years, however old or young you are, it's there's no reason why there shouldn't be a little bit of a plan, at least.
That's something that I've been working on with a few of my clients right now, is that, they don't have employees that are quite invested in it. As a manager, as an owner, I feel like you do have kind of, I would hate to say parent-child dynamic, but your goal is to make sure that they are successful, that they develop and learn and grow. That's what you should be wanting for your employees. And I've been having this conversation with shop owners about, well, what have you talked about with this employee about their long-term goals? What are you talking to them about, the opportunities that are in front of them? Have you been talking about their career? Have you been talking about their specialization? Have you been talking about, do you even know what they want? And the resounding answer is like, no, I didn't even think that was a thing. I hired them to do this job only, and they come in, clock out. And we need to be thinking more long-term with them. And I think that's partially why a lot of the younger generation isn't wanting to come into shops. Kind of went off the end there, but
I think I think at least from my perspective, Kent and I, you and I have had, we talk about the future of the company ad infinitum. I mean, a lot. And in that future of the company, you have a role and I have a role. And we I believe we understand what that is, right? and yet I've never sat down and said exactly on this day at this time you're going to get this much of the business. On this day at this time you're going to get this.
Well, no, because you did, because we did have the conversation with the lawyer.
Yeah, well, yesterday but my intention has always been to have, someone that's qualified run the company and continue the company and pay me for it, Yeah. And if that's Kent, that's all the better. And that's, what we've been working on the past 10 years. Right.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Jim, what are you guys doing that you feel has been positive in managing your relationship with the business?
I think for me, it's been trusting my employees and my family that they're going to be forging forward in a positive way. So for me, it was to come upstairs into my own little office over here, stay out of everybody's hair, cross my fingers and hope all the, right decisions are being made. When they're not, I certainly find out, because you either get an email, or a lot of clients have my cell phone, and they'll have to put me on the track every once in a while. But I think the most effective thing that I've been able to do in the last couple of months is have enough trust in the family and the employees to be able to step away and let that process begin, whether it's in positive or negative, and then kind of come back. If it needed damage control, it needs damage control. We all learn from that. But I think me staying off their back has been a very good positive impact on the business, because at the end of the day, what sometimes I think is important, and we'll push it to be important, 2 or 3 days later, it's not even an issue anymore. So I've learned to have a sense of comfort, even when it's uncomfortable, knowing that, in a day or two, it'll pass. And, it keeps them motivated. It keeps them energized. It gives them a sense of they can make decisions and do things that, they believe is right. And, most of the time it is right, and most of the time it's not that important, and I know one thing for sure is any decisions that are being made, they're made with the best interest at heart. And what more can you ask than that? Nobody's purposely trying to sabotage anything. Everyone's trying to do their best. And, being from old school, being overreactive when something goes wrong, which I have a tendency to do, not being part of that anymore, I think is helped. And it's gone, I think it's gone smoother for me to step back. It's hard to, because this is my heart and soul. This is what I do. If I have to do anything in life, it's to run an auto repair business. And it's really tough to sit back and bite your tongue sometimes, but we got to change with the times. So I think these guys have a lot to offer in a positive way. Sometimes you got to sit back and watch.
I think you said something that's really, really important in just even running your business, and that is, none of my people want to fail. None of my people are going to do something intentionally to damage my business. And then I think there's another concept that is a very important concept, and that is, I've done things in a very specific way because I'm me, and I have certain experiences, and I have a certain amount of intelligence, and I have certain, thoughts and all of that. And no matter what, I can't find another me. There's nobody out there is me. And so if Kent comes in and I say, okay, Kent, I want you to do this part of the job, and he goes and does that part of the job, it's not exactly the way I would have done it, but it gets the right result. I have to let that go, right? I have to say, Okay, he got the result we wanted. And we have these pillars, and we have this ethics document, and for me, if it isn't unethical, illegal, or immoral, and it gets the job done correctly, then okay, maybe it's not the way I would have done it. Maybe we even took some hard knocks because of it, but did we learn something about that? Okay,
Right.
great. When I was a young tech, I learned by making mistakes. I learned by reading the book, and I learned by asking my dad and his partner, how do you do this? But I also learned by making mistakes. And if we don't allow our people to make mistakes, they're not going to learn, and they'll never get up to the skill set that we need them to be. So we on the dinosaur level, we have to be more patient.
Right.
We have to learn that, and learn that as long, Kent's never going to be me. And in a lot of ways, that's a good thing. And there's probably a couple of ways where it's like, God, I wish he would do this in a different way. But are we getting the right result? Do we help our customers? Is the company profitable? Are we doing good in the world? If those things all are okay, then all right, let's move forward, and do it the way that however Kent, wants to do it, which, by the way, is sometimes is so hard to just step back and let it go.
He hates the way I do some things.
Not all, but occasionally, occasionally frustrates the heck out of me.
I think we all do things differently. We run our shops differently. A very famous guy once said that you grow up and you have glasses, and as you go through events and things in your life, the color of those glasses change. And when your outlook on life, when you're looking out on life, you look through those colored glasses, and you make a decision based on the color of the glasses, so to speak, right? And whereas a young person, they don't have those experiences yet. They don't have that color on their glasses yet. They can't make the same decision that you will. So we'll forever be doing things differently. But as you said, just a bit ago here, as long as we're moving on in the right direction, it's awesome. So
I love it. I think that's a wonderful note to end on. We're at time, everybody. I want to thank everyone for being here. Carly, I'm sorry you didn't get to talk too much.
She's
that's okay. Family
granddaughter.
first. Yeah,
Yep.
Family first. I want to remind everybody, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and share. If you learned something new, and would love someone else to learn something new as well. Tune in on February 9th to hear more about our partnership with iScam and the technical training conference coming to the Institute this May. Thanks again, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you on the next episode.
That's it for this one. This episode was brought to you by GearForShops.com, the Gearheads Network, and the Institute. For a better business, a better life, and a better industry, visit WeAreTheInstitute.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.